what may I give you more information about, or what do you have questions about? It seems like you guys have probably heard a lot of things already today. And anything from the medical aspects to the financial aspects, donors, surrogates.
I have questions about all the statistics that are thrown at us. So success rates for certain levels in the process and how we can compare them. And what are the meaningful success rates and how are they audited? Are they just self-reported?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the SART website, there's a lot of, so my data is actually from my old clinic, which is called Fertility and Surgical Associates in California. And that data is for all three physicians combined, rather than separated by physician. And each person doesn't have the same success rates. Each lab doesn't have the same success rates. So there's a lot it's difficult to sift through the data. I think that generally you're dealing with clinics that are relatively good clinics. The main thing is that all the ones that you see here are proven, tried and true. If you want to think about success rates, you can look at a lot of your success as an individual will come from the decisions that you make, okay? Rather than maybe in the hands of the clinic. IVF labs are different, stimulation protocols are different, they're all different, right? And that's probably going to be like make a 20-30% difference in the outcome. But along with that, choosing a good egg donor is so important, okay? That's the biggest determinant of your prognosis. Do both of you guys want to produce? So if you do, don't go with a frozen cycle. And if you buy frozen eggs, if you have to, let's say you're going to have to buy 12 eggs each, 10 eggs each, that expense is going to be the same expense as a fresh cycle. Now, will you get a pregnancy out of it? Sure. So frozen eggs will get you pregnant. We did a study back, this was 5-6 years ago. ASRM said if you want to do egg freezing, you have to prove that your technology works. So we got egg donors, got their eggs, froze them, and we gave them free to our clients, and the only deal was they had to use them right away, they couldn't sit on them. And our pregnancy rate was 80% with frozen eggs. The problem is, you only get one, maybe 2 shots at it. So then in the future, what do you do for a sibling? Or let's say you get one normal embryo, you put it in, it doesn't work. Then you have to start all over again. So it gives a great deal of anxiety to everyone. On the other hand, you do a fresh cycle, you have an abundance of embryos, and that could be a problem later. What do you do with all of them? Much easier problem to deal with than having to go through another IVF cycle. So choosing the egg donor is key. And depending on what you want, don't want, to be able to get a proven donor gives you that much more comfort that she's gone through it before, there was a certain outcome, and it was favorable, and we can trust her again that very likely she'll have a similar outcome. On the other hand, let's say you choose a donor that's not a proven donor, at least get an AMH level. Don't go into it without knowing that donor's AMH. Get her genetic report. Does she have the good starter carrier screening, council, whatever test you want to do? If it's already done, great. That's another variable that you don't have to worry about. Because if it hasn't been done, what if she comes back positive for something? Do you still want to use her? I don't know. Most of the time it would be safe because at most the baby would be a carrier, but some people want to avoid all of those issues. So choose a good egg donor that's a high responder and has made good quality embryos. And if you know that they've led to success, that's even better. I think that when we talk about general clinics, you're going to talk about like comparing bell curves, right? You're going to have little differences that are definitely there. But as an individual trying to find success, that's going to be important. In terms of interpreting the data, better than the pregnancy rate is the implantation rate. Okay. So if I put in 2 embryos and we get 1 baby, the pregnancy rate is still 100%. Okay. But if I put in 2 embryos and I get 1 baby, then the implantation rate is 50%. And that's would better tell you as to having success, because if you want to put in an elective single embryo or do an elective single embryo transfer, then you want to do it once and get your baby and move on. And that's going to be driven by the implantation rate. On the other hand, if you want twins and you desperately want it to work so that you can have twins and avoid the process and not have to do a second round of surrogacy, then you want to be able to put in 2 and get 2 out. So those are going to be, in terms of the whole path, that's a much better way to look at the situation. And so you have to sift through the data a little bit. You have to talk to the clinics, talk to the agencies. So there are not a lot of players in this field. You see most of them here. And if you look at different agencies, they work with different clinics. Sometimes they'll partner up, right? But you look at what's your experience been, what's the implantation rate, et cetera. You could go back and forth, and it's a small community, we all know each other, and all of this stuff is really easy to get the details on. There are some things that I would advise in that when doing the simulation, there's some things that are kind of misleading. We can't get a lot of eggs and have success. If we have to use a high dose or high amount of medication, a large amount of medication to get those eggs out, then the egg quality will not be good. But if we have to use a moderate amount of medication or a small amount of medication and get a lot of eggs, then those eggs are going to be phenomenal. And they actually published a report on this many years ago. We had 2 groups of donors, average responders that made, I think, 18 to 22 eggs, and then high responders that made the 30s. And the high responders, their implantation rate was like 78%. This is many years ago before PGS testing. So it can be really favorable. The other thing is that in terms of success, the PGS testing is incredibly important. Sorry, my computer's dying here, but I can show you some results where judging a embryo visually, it's not good enough. So this is actually a donor cycle from a couple from Italy. The first 4 are Giuseppe sperm. The last 4 are Ryan's sperm. They actually had many other embryos that were frozen. These were the 8 that we tested. We used to test 4 and 4. Now we do 5 and 5. But you see visually, all of them are 4AA. They're perfect. They're expanded blastocysts, inner cell mass A grade, outer cell mass A grade. They're visually as good as you can get. Right? Now, if we look at the top one, that's an XX 46 euploid. So that's a normal girl. Then you have a boy, girl, boy. This one here has an extra chromosome 6 and extra 7, so it would never be a live birth. Could be a miscarriage. So now you've just wasted a couple of months, embryo transfer, etc. This one, most likely a miscarriage, could lead to live birth. That would be a girl with Turner syndrome. And then this last one here, we see that there are the right number of chromosomes, but this embryo is missing a piece on the long arm of chromosome X. So again, some of the stigmata of Turner syndrome, not an embryo that you want to transfer. So we were able to test other embryos from Ryan. We thawed them, biopsied them, refroze them, and they have a boy and a girl. Ryan wanted a girl, second wanted a boy. Is that right, Trudy? And they have their twins now. And it's really easy to do. It's joke around that we have a drive-through window. We do have a drive-through window. You can show over in, and that's what you get. But that's where the hard work comes in. All the little details from the clinic side, all the equipment that we bought, the updating of the equipment, the embryologists, their training. 100% of my patients go through PGS testing. And the issue is that by the time they come to me, they've done multiple cycles and gone elsewhere or are traveling around the world trying to get this done. And it's not just the idea of getting them pregnant that we have to try, but we have to have success. It's pretty much guaranteed success. And then you want to do whatever's within your power to be able to do that. And this test is about $4,500. It's a lot of money, but relative to what you'll spend at this path, it's a small amount of money to have a lot of peace of mind. Then also, it sounds kind of silly, but I think first time around, I wouldn't care if I have a boy or girl, but the second time around, I want the opposite gender or whatever. I'm sorry, but right. It's nice to be able to have that as an option, to know what you really have frozen, rather than, you know, if people come to me and they'll, oh, we have 3 frozen embryos. Are they PGS tested? No. So we really don't. In that circumstance, I really don't know how many embryos are viable. What the reality is, I'm just kind of guessing. Are there any questions, concerns about any other processes? Okay. So at Western Fertility, we do things a little bit differently. This is true. It's one of our patients, clients, and he was telling me earlier that his experience has been that, you know, compared it to Walmart, but I think it's, he called it a one-stop shop, and I agree. What we do try to do is to really simplify it for you. We egg donors and surrogacy, it's all part of the process. So we work quite often with Robin, and she runs global egg donors, so we can get donors locally or from all over the world, whatever you guys are looking for. And then we have our surrogates in-house as well, so that your job is to come, produce a specimen, give blood and sperm, and then you can look through any number of catalogs, meet with the donors, Skype with the donors, etc., and choose the right person for you. Then the donor comes through, we make the embryos, you get a report, just like the one I showed you, where the how many normal males and females you have. You decide what you want transferred, you get matched with the surrogates. At any given time, we have probably about 15 to 20 surrogates that are ready to be matched. And so you get matched right away, and then we schedule a transfer about 5 to 6 weeks later. Our implantation rate roughly is running about 80%. We do a lot of work with same-sex surrogacy as well. And for them, our implantation rate was, or actually our pregnancy rate was 88%. And that was for putting in 2 embryos and getting 2 babies out. Because, like I said, my philosophy is that we should not be paternalistic. When I was going through medical school, that was a big ethical thing that they want to change from generations past. So when my father or grandfather were physicians, you go to their office, and they were very paternalistic. They told you what was good for you, and went home and did it. Right? But now, it's my job not to tell you what's right or wrong for you, but to educate you, to inform you, and then have you make the right decision for yourself. So what we want to be able to do is tell you about the benefits of electric signal embryo transfer, but also what are the risks, the accurate, true risks for two embryo transfer, and then you make the decision. Is it worth for you to take on that little extra risk to be able to have 2 babies at the same time? And it very well may be, and it is for a lot of people, and the vast majority of them have a completely safe and healthy pregnancy. In fact, we had a twin delivery an hour ago or 2 hours ago, and they were 5 pounds each. They'll stay in the hospital for 2 days like any other babies and be able to go home. And the couple's on their way to me now. So it's all really doable. It's very easy. It's just, I know that with all the options available, sometimes the options can become overwhelming. It's hard to decide. If you guys want any referrals of patients that have gone through this before, have been in your shoes, always feel free to let us know. We can connect you with someone. Any other questions or concerns? Anything that you found confusing? Oh, Robin.
I've been asked a lot about if they can do PGS on already frozen embryos, and what's the difference?
So we can do PGS on previously frozen embryos. We can thaw them, biopsy and transfer them the next day, or we can thaw, biopsy, and refreeze, and we've had success both ways. There are problems with each. So the reason we like to do PGS from the beginning is that before we freeze them, we can biopsy them, and that way they only go through 1 freeze-thaw cycle. And we do like to freeze them for doing PGS rather than transferring the following day, because quite often with these great embryos, they're almost hatching or completely hatched by that time. And the embryos become very fragile for the transfer without the shot. Imagine being shot in the can, you'd want to all that. Right, so similarly, when we thaw the embryos, and they're these beautiful embryos, we biopsy them, and then the next day we go to transfer them, they're hatching or hatched, and then we don't know they're anxious. Or if we freeze them, then they go through 2 freeze-thaw cycles, and generally they do well, but get a little anxious. Any other questions? By the way, this is Corinna. She is doing research on surrogacy, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but all through the world, surrogacy is really looked on as a very poor process for women to go through. And what we want to do is kind of change that perspective, change the narrative. And Corinna did her PhD on this subject. Thought it'd be really nice to have her continue her research and to be able to publish this, presented at the European Society for Human Reproduction, have it published in appropriate journals so that we can tell the experience in the U.S. and how there is so much altruism and love involved rather than taking advantage of it. But so we really appreciate you guys participating, because what we want is your experience before, during, and after. And to be able to capture that, all the anxiety and the worries you have now versus afterwards, I think to present that to the rest of the world that what we're doing is not evil. We need to look at it in a different light, which is really beneficial to everyone. So, if you guys don't mind working with Corinna, I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Take my time so far.